So crazy! Alright, so I'm not even really sure how to start this review. The Crazies, it's a very middling film for me. Full on disclosure up front, I don't really like movies of this genre. I'm not big on the horror movies. This plays out a lot like a typical zombie movie. Let's start out with the good. I think there's some cool shots here and there. It feels competently directed, but man, there is a lot of silliness in this movie. One of the things that I think worked well in the movie was the characters kind of acted a little bit more genuine than I feel a lot of these movies do. For instance, sort of near the end when the two remaining characters are in the truck and everything, there's a lot of tension built up, and the main lady, she keeps jumping and like screaming because she's totally freaked out. And I feel like sometimes that's really undercut in a lot of movies, but here they rolled with that, and I felt like that was to its benefit. It's hard to hate on movies just because they're so hard to get made, and I definitely have to give them props on that, but this one could have used some work, and I'm predisposed against that, just not liking these kind of things. But there are so many moments that just don't feel right. Like they have a bunch of scenes in this movie where there are at least two characters, and one of them says, "Okay, wait right here, I'll be back," and they go and investigate something, and it's like, don't do that, because every time in this movie that happens, the person who's waiting there, they end up having something bad happen to them. They scream when the person who left them didn't find anything, and they have to run back, and then something bad happens to them. I guess just a lot of the movie feels kind of formulaic and predictable. Also, the movie relies heavily on audio. It's a very quiet film through most of it, but they use that to ramp up the audio to help intensify jump scares and tense situations, which I understand why they did it, but it felt a little cheap to me. Who likes jump scares? I don't know anyone who really does. Also, just the whole absurdity of it, the whole government aspect of it felt a little weird to me. The way anyone that they got a hold of was just completely willing to like release information, especially the guy in the truck that flipped over. It seems like you would think he would be a little bit more reluctant to just like divulge everything that they're working on this super secret mission, that they're covering up in the news and everything. Also, just like the fact that they dropped an atomic bomb on the town, it's like they were pretty close to that bomb, I'm just gonna say. And usually those have a lot of heat, a lot of radiation, and it seems like all they got was just, a big gust of wind. And it just threw that truck out, and they were okay with it, They were like, well, at least we got past that, And just that last shot before the credits, where it's just like, it's got the spy cam, and it zooms down on the town, and they're about to do the contamination protocol with that town, and it's just like, oh, really? I kind of took issue with how the virus worked. Of course you have to have the doctor character who's there to explain the virus and kind of how it works, which they definitely have in this movie. And I'm not saying I need, a midi-chlorian kind of explanation to something. There's definitely something to be said about keeping a mystery to certain aspects of things, but here it just didn't seem to make sense to me, right? So it infects people, which is fine, and it enrages them and makes them kind of crazy with vacant stares off into the distance, and they just want to kill things. But they hinted that there's a purpose to the killing, right? So the scene where the guy has the pitchfork and he's stabbing women who are attached to the gurneys, he didn't go one by one down the road just stabbing every one of them, because presumably they're all alive, right? And he's stabbing selective ones. And that confused me because, okay, clearly there's a purpose to why he's stabbing the ones he's stabbing, you know. Because it's not that he's killing everything that's alive, he's killing specific things for a specific purpose, which they don't make clear. But I guess at the end of the day, you could kind of say that, well, maybe that's the virus killing off the things that aren't infected, maybe because they have an immunity or something like that, and it's taking measures to prolong the life of the virus, which you could kind of argue, but they don't really provide any backing for that idea, I don't think. And also, just the way it interacts with different people. So through most of the characters throughout the film, you know, it just kind of makes them it kind of slowly degrades their mind, and then they just have this insatiable urge to kill all living things. That seems to be what the virus does to everyone. Except they introduce these characters, and they're kind of these hunter characters, and they go around hunting people for fun, basically. And this really threw me off because these characters, they're very sentient, they talk to each other, they seem, you know, not completely just out of their mind. They're having discussions with each other, sharing information, and commenting on things that are happening. They seem more of just like insane, homicidal psychopaths than they do these blank slates of killing machines that the virus seems to be making everyone else. And clearly they are infected. They show that they are infected with the virus, although there's no reason why these people should have been affected by the virus differently than other people, and that really threw me off. Okay, I understand that the government had this, you know, chemical weapon that they were sending to get destroyed or whatever, and then the plane crashed and it got everywhere, so they had to contain it. You know, they had to take measures to keep it under wraps, everything. But how do you let something get so out of control that even though you have this whole project to stop things and you're rounding all of these crazy people up, how do you not have measures to prevent them from just like completely ripping apart everything that you just set up? You know, it kind of makes the government seem like incompetent imbeciles in this. And that was just kind of weird. It didn't matter for anything because all it did was group together all of the bad guys. Everyone who acted in it did fairly well. I kind of enjoyed the characters, especially the guy who goes crazy at the end and has that whole redemption arc. I enjoyed that. And I think everything was done okay, you know? There's just a lot of silliness, and you know, it works sometimes, it doesn't work sometimes, it hits some notes, not all of them. It's just a very middling film. So I feel like this movie, it didn't offend me or insult me in any way, but a lot of it just felt very kind of mediocre or underwhelming. But if you're watching on Instant Watch, you know, it's not costing you anything but your time. And I feel like on that kind of dynamic, it works. But it's not something I would say you have to go see this, you know. It's something that if you have the time, you can go watch it and there's a little bit of fun to be had, but just don't take it too seriously. Don't go in there with too much expectation because it's not going to meet that.